Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Thanks for joining me today. I am here for Imagine Crafts and we are going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to be using just some regular old kitchen foil. As you can see, mine's straight from Walmart. It's not heavy duty, it's just plain old regular strength foil, and I am using some masking paper or removable sticker paper. Mine is called Rock Paper Scissors, that's the brand, and I got it off of Amazon. And I just rip off a piece of the foil and I pull the release paper off of the whole sheet of label paper and adhere it down, and then I'm cutting off the excess, as you can see. Now you can use your scissors, you can use, your big cutter, whatever it is you want to do, but you want to burnish it down. I just use my hand, but there will be bubbles and there will be wrinkles. So we often hear that paper has no memory. Well, foil has a memory. If you have a crinkle in it or a wrinkle or a bend or whatever, it will stay. You're not going to get rid of that crinkle, wrinkle, or bend. But you can get rid of the bubbles, and you can just use a pokey tool, as you saw me doing. You can use a pin, anything that will poke a small little hole into that bubble, and then you just burnish it out with your thumb. Now I go back a couple times and just make sure that mine are all burnished out. I don't want there to be any bubbles, and then I cut it down into quarters. So my panels are essentially A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I'm pulling out some embossing folders from my stash. Now I have my craft mat down because I'm going to be getting messy here in a little bit. But I decided that I just wanted to kind of play and see which of the Imagine Craft products would actually stick to the foil, because we have to keep in mind that different products, different mediums, adhere to different surfaces or substrates differently. So foil is non-porous, so we're going to need something that will stick to non-porous surfaces. But I also wanted to see if we can get something to dry all the way, because a lot of mediums won't stick to anything when they're wet, but you leave them alone to dry and they become permanent. So this is kind of my thought process as I'm going on. Now these embossing folders that I'm pulling out, you can see that they are different in the manufacturers, they're different in pattern, they're different in their thickness. I have a 3D, I have a 2D, and they're all a little bit different, and I want to see what kind of outcome I'm going to get. So I have 4 panels and I have 4 embossing folders. This Quatrefoil is one of my all-time favorites. This one is like a Nordic Christmas from Simon Says Stamp. This one is from, well, it says Sizzix, but it's Stampin' Up. It's like a tin ceiling panel. And then this one is from Spellbinders, and it is the image of a raven. It's very kind of gothic, very Halloween-y. Definitely one of the favorites that I have in my stash. So here's where I was playing with some inks, just to kind of see if my theory proved true. So you can see that the VersaFine Clair inks never fully dried. So everything else that I've used on here, I've used StazOn, I've used, oh, I don't even know. I've used Irresistible sprays, only I just kind of blopped them out. I used Fireworks spray. I used, what is this one called? The Neon Amplify. And just playing. I just wanted to experiment. So you guys are seeing my experimentation. So I'm running my 4 foil panels through the embossing folder in my embossing machine, or my die cutting machine, and you have to figure out what the right sandwich is for your product, for your medium, for your machine. Everyone has a little bit different sandwich. So yeah, just follow your manufacturer's directions and go by that, go by your experience, and yeah, you'll get it. So here I have an old box. I lay some paper towel in there to absorb any overspray, and this becomes my splat box or my spray box. So I start out with Desert Sand and Potter's Clay fireworks sprays, and then I also go in with, I believe, some Tuxedo Black fireworks sprays, yes. And again, I know that these are water-based, but I want to see what they'll do if left alone to dry. I have a hard time with that. I'm not even going to lie. but I spray it and it starts to curl up a little bit because remember the foil is adhered to the masking paper. Paper being the operative word. Paper will roll up when it gets wet. So, and I have a lot of spray down and I keep putting spray down. I'm liking the way the colors are blending and kind of merging together, but you can see that they all kind of ran down to the middle. See how there's no spray at the top? So I'm hitting it with my heat tool, as you can see, just wondering what's going to happen once it's dry, just hurrying the process along. And then I come back in with the sprays again, right at the edges, because all of my spray, like I said, rolled to the middle. So just trying to get some more color on the ends and see what's going to happen. So this time I set it aside and let it dry naturally. So here I come in with this panel with the irresistible spray. Now this one is called Love Letter and it's super thick, and I didn't want to take the time to clean out the nozzle, so I just kind of poured it on, and then I'm taking a paper towel and spreading it out. Now as you do that, and that kind of spreads the color a little bit thinner, spreads the medium thin, you can see it kind of becomes more of a pink than that deep rich, almost a blood-like red, really. This is a great red for Halloween if you can use it in its condensed form. Look at the paper towel, you can see how red that was. But I'm not hating this kind of pinky tone either. I like it. Again, just hitting it with my heat tool. Here I come in with the Neon Amplify. Now initially I thought that both the Irresistibles and the Amplify were acrylic mediums. They are not. To be honest, I know they both have water in them. I don't know that they're water-based, but they have water. So just go back to that experimentation. Use the knowledge that you have and just play. Now I am loving this antique look that I'm getting by adding the Amplify over the Love Letter panel. You can see that the black is settling down into all those cracks and crevices and allowing that red to show through, and I think it's beautiful. I'm just having fun. Remember, I'm just experimenting. I'm not really sure. I have an idea of what's going to happen based on what I already know about these products, right? So I'm taking that knowledge that I already have and the understanding of different types of surfaces and what will and won't adhere to them, but I'm also trying to expand that and see if in different circumstances I might get a different result. So set that one aside to dry as well. Now I have my Quatrefoil panel and I'm putting on the Bamboo Leaves Irresistible Spray. And again, it won't spray. It's just super thick, and I've got the tube is clogged, so again, I don't want to take the time to go clean the tube in the bathroom by running it through some water and spraying the water through, which will clear that tube. Trust me, it will clear that tube. I've done it before many times. But I just kind of spread it on and it's fine. And then I come in with the Bronze Irresistible Spray. Same thing. I try each one of them just to see, but yeah, they're super thick and they just don't want to spray. And that's okay. To be fair, I don't use these very often, so they kind of just get really thick and you've got to work with them a little bit to thin them out and get them to spray. And again, putting that nozzle and that spray tube through the water will get it out, and you know, you should be able to use it just fine. There are replaceable tubes and lids with sprayers that you can get, but really I think it should be fine. Everybody's got a different experience though, so let me know if you've experienced that. But here I am blending my colors a little bit because we have to, I got way too much. We have to remember that wet on wet blends, wet on dry layers. Because you could see the black was wet over the dry red and it layered beautifully. Here I have the green and the bronze and they're both wet and they're blending. So here I'm just trying to salvage some of that excess. You don't want to waste your mediums, right? We got to keep those sprays as long as we can. So anyway, just kind of spreading it out, blotting it on, just trying to make sure that I get color down everywhere. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of the green because it's just not enough color for my eye just yet. I'm getting there, but it's not quite ready. But I have to keep in mind, and I have to remind myself that I have not let these dry yet. This panel has not been dried. It's been just added to and added to a number of times now. So It's looking kind of mossy. I like that look. It kind of reminds me of ivy growing on like a lattice work frame out in the garden. But again, hit it with my heat tool, just wanting to make sure that it's dry before I try adding something else. And here I add the black or Tuxedo Black fireworks spray. And I started to blot it, but I like the way that the spray is kind of doing its own thing. Now here I'm coming in with the London Fog fireworks spray, and I don't like it so much. I end up blotting most of this off. Yep, I come back in with some more of the Tuxedo Black. I blotted up most of the gray, and here I'm trying to blot up a little bit more of the puddles. Hitting it with my heat tool because I really want those darker colors, those blacks and grays, to be down in the crevices. And you can see I'm touching the sprays, and they are still wet. My fingers are inky. Without a doubt, they're inky. But even though I hit it with a heat tool, I just set it aside to dry some more. And now here we have the panel that looks like a tin tile roof, or a tin roof tile. How do you say that? Or black backsplash. And I am using the copper irresistible spray. Only again, I just poured it out and then I'm dabbing it on. Now each time I'm just using a paper towel. You can use whatever you choose. You could use a paintbrush. You could use a foam brush. You use whatever you're comfortable with. I had a roll of paper towels next to me, and it was just convenient. And it also helped me kind of keep the mess contained. So I just blotted it out, and I'm looking for an uneven effect, if you will. And so that's pretty much what I got. And then now again, I add some more of the Tuxedo Black fireworks spray, and then I just leave it alone. I'm not going to blot it out. I'm just going to let the fluid do what it's going to do. Again, that exploration. So here is what I have so far. Everything has been set aside to dry, and then I come back the next day. This is actually the next day, and I'm looking at what I have, and I am not mad about any of them. I think they're all beautiful. But I have to say, the ones where I use sprays are still not fully dry. That one's fully dry because it's irresistible and it's neon. Or the neon amplify. You can see that my finger just went right into that black spray, and it is still wet. And even this one, in those places where there's more black down in those crevices, still not fully dry. Now I did take both of these and I sprayed some fixative on both of them. These are the only two that I make into cards today, but I sprayed the fixative on them and I let them dry. Oh man, I think it was a couple of hours. And then I just came back and cut them down to size. Now I did not put them through my die cut machine with like a die, because I was afraid that all that beautiful texture would flatten out in the die cutting machine. So I mount them both down to a black card panel. Oh man, I think they're so beautiful. So beautiful. Now I do have to say, let me back up to the fixative. Even the fixative didn't fully seal in the color, the sprays, because they are water-based and they don't fully dry. And on a non-porous surface, it's not going to fully dry, especially those thicker areas. Now those thicker areas is what give us the dimension and that aged look that we're looking for. But I think you are better off, if you're going to try to mimic this, I would use like a black acrylic paint, maybe the neon amplify, which by the way, it's kind of like a puff paint. The amplify is like a puff paint, and it is water-based, but it also has, now I'm no chemist, but it has something in it that allows it to adhere to non-porous surfaces. So again, I don't know fully the science behind all of it. I just know what I know. Yeah. And now I have adhered both of the tin panels down to a black layering layer. And I've adhered the word eek onto the one with the raven. Just used my liquid glue and held it in place with an acrylic block. And then I added the pumpkin to the tin tile. And of course I'm layering the words thankful and grateful. I've die cut those out of like a cinnamony color cardstock and layering that on top of black, and I add those to the pumpkin. As you can see I'm doing here, I will lay an acrylic block on top of that as well to hold it in place until it dries. Now the pumpkin is a die from Simon Says Stamp. The cardstock on it is part of the Backdrops collection from Halloween 2022, and I think it makes the most beautiful pumpkin. I am in love with this card. I love it so much. Now you can see that I layered both of the panels on top of white card bases. One is top fold, one is side fold, and I think they're beautiful. Y'all let me know what you think. If you have experience with this, especially with the different types of mediums and what they adhere to, and you have some advice for me, drop that downstairs in the comment section. Otherwise, if you have questions about my process, about any of the products, drop that downstairs as well. I will try to have everything will be listed. I don't know that everything will be linked. If I can find it, I will link it. But just be patient with me, as I hope you are patient with yourselves as you go through any kind of learning process. Again, I encourage that exploration, that sense of wonder and what if, and go for it. See what happens. See what results the what if gives you. And I would love to know. I think we would all love to know. That learning process is so much part of the creativity. So guys, I thank you so much for spending time with me. As I've already mentioned, leave your comments, suggestions, questions, advice downstairs in the comments. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it. If you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you're alerted each time we post something new. And until next time, y'all, this has been Nancy, the Handy Scandy for Imagine Crafts. I thank you again for spending some time with me. And until next time, mwah, I'm out.